Hi, this is Peter. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Cane Pole Instruction Edition. Today we're going to talk about casting, and grab this because it would be a little annoying. At any rate, what I've got is I've got my spinning rod here. I've got a weight tied to the end of it, and to the tag end of the line I have put a little ribbon on here. Now they sell at Walmart and other places what they call a little casting plug. It's a little piece of rubber, it's got an eye on the end of it. That way you don't hurt anything when you're casting. I do recommend using one of those versus a piece of lead weight if you're not very familiar with casting. I don't recommend you start out with a lure with hooks on it because you've got to learn. Now hopefully this little piece of ribbon right here allows you to see what I'm about to do. Now casting a one of the push button reels is going to be a little bit different. It's in the fact that you're holding the push button down. But when you cast, you will release that at the proper time. You've got to adjust to when the proper time is. Bait casting, you will have your thumb on your spool, and it's a whole different ball game. I don't recommend that for beginners. I like spinning rods, as I covered in my last video, for several reasons. Alright, with a spinning rod, I usually like to leave about that much when I'm casting from the rod tip. You're going to take this. I usually like putting it where my bail, this part right here, is up. You're going to grab the line with a finger. You're going to open your bail. Then when you go to cast it, you're going to give it a flip. And when it lands, you close the bail. Then you reel back up. If you're reeling in with a lure, you work your lure. If you're doing like a float rig, you're just going to close that up and let it sit out there. I'm going to do that again. Open your bail, you give it a flip, lands, you close the bail, then you do your reeling. Alright, now, you notice I was actually casting backwards. I'm going to turn around, and my camera person is going to focus in on what the end of my rod is doing. Okay? All you do when you cast is you give it a little flip. Now I'm not casting very far. I'm not really trying to cast very far if you see where it is out there in the yard. I'm being really light. Now what you do, you bring it back, you flip it forward. When the weight shifts to the forward position, I know it's kind of hard to see and I might slow this down, it's when you're going to release. I didn't do it very hard. There was a reason I didn't do it very hard. Now notice when I'm casting, I'm not going over the back of my head like this and going, whoa. Yes, I'll do that for a distance cast, but that's not what we're working on right now. You want to work on accuracy. You want to work on getting it out there. A sidearm cast like this is a little better. And you can go side over, you can go side under. A lot of it depends on what you're doing. This is just pretty much a straight sidearm. Give it a little bit more oomph and get it out there. And that's one of the reasons you don't want to use a lead weight on it in the yard. Also, I'm in my yard, so I'm not on the water. I'm not bothered by, things around. It's wide open out here, or as open as my yard can be. And I'm just casting it. See, that sidearm keeps it very low to the water, or very low to wherever you're going. You're not getting up in tree branches. Let me go again. See how that stayed about pretty level? I will try and slow this down if possible. Now I'm going to do an over the rod sidearm. You see how that went up in the air? Do that again. Now that's going up in the air. You really don't want to do that when you're first learning to fish. You're wanting to keep it low to the water to keep it out of snags and learn to get it out there. Now the heavier your lure or the heavier your weight, the easier it's going to be able to cast to a point. If you notice, this has not really got a flex in the rod. I'm using a fairly light weight. A heavier weight and your rod doing this number right here is not good. You want it light, but you don't want it too light. You want to be able to feel it, you want to be able to cast it. I'm going to do this one more time, and I'm going to go back, forward, and release. That went a little bit high. Now once you learn to do that, focus in on the tree over there, the little one if you can. You got the base of the tree. Once you learn to do that, you can actually cross your body and learn to cast. Now I didn't put enough force in that to get it over there by the tree. But you work on your accuracy. See how that ended up right there by the tree? If that was a stump in the water or a weed bed or whatever, I'd have my lure right up by it. And not every cast is getting in the same spot. One way to do that if you don't have a tree to cast at is to take and put yourself a bowl or a plate. See, I bounced off the tree. But take and put yourself a bowl or a plate in your yard and cast at your bowl or your plate. Now focus in on the big tree. I can do the same thing. Only that, I went a little bit more power to it and I went a little high. See how that got in the branches? Go a little bit lower. It's been a while since I've casted this, and this is not actually heavy enough weight for loading this rod properly. I still hit the branches, but I got it over there by the base. There we go. Trying to keep it low. Let me work its side arm on the other side. Keeping it low. Getting it under those branches. Now once again, this may get tangled beyond all get out. If I went with an over, see how that gets up into the tree? Now, there's one more thing I want to address, other than just work on that sidearm cast and do it in your yard. Do it where you've got overhanging things. Is you can cast for distance. I'm gonna try not to hit. Like I say, this is a little light, especially with that tail. But overhead will cast for distance. One more time. See, and with that light ribbon, it's actually not getting quite the distance, because if you hear it, you hear it. It's got some drag. But once you're not as concerned with distance, especially in small water, as you are with getting it accurate. Now I'm going to show you one more cast, and it may not work very well with this. It works a little bit better with, heavier lures compared to your rods. All right, this is kind of what they call a flip or a pitch, and it's how bass anglers take a worm or a jig and put it into weed beds or other areas. What you do is you take and you move your rod. You have your weight in your hand. Move your rod and you flip it low. Notice how that went low? You've got just about a rod length of line. You put your bait in your hand, and it takes some precision to release everything at the same time. You're just moving your rod forward. Your hand goes a little forward, but you're not throwing with your hand as much as you're just guiding things. That went a little high. And I got a tangle on my reel, so bear with me for a second. I'll let it get a loop. See, that happens to everybody. But you just pull your loop out and there you go. I'm going to do this one more time. Go right at the truck tire, please. This is where it comes in real handy. That's more than a rod tip away. Now I could just swing it, but you see how swinging it kind of runs a little not on the same thing, and it takes a minute. But if I flip, I didn't mean to hit the truck. This is not the easiest way of doing things in the world. But if I flip, dang piece of grass. Step one side. I can get it right up under the truck, right by the tire. It's a very accurate way of presenting your bait. Right up under the truck tire. That works for under docks, under low overhanging limbs. And you know, I'm not that accurate. You can hear me hitting the truck. But in general, getting it right in there behind or by that tire. Alright. So I hope that helps you out a little bit when you're casting. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I may not reply to every comment depending on how many I'm getting, but I will definitely do my best to answer questions on it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.